about,
Hold on, hold on. I don't want to miss anything,
yep,
so I'm just hit the record
sure.
button from the get go.
Excuse me. So I live in the south of Spain. The nearest town is called Orgiva. The nearest city is Granada, which is I'm about an hour south of Granada. It's an off-grid community. I live among these olive trees. I live in that yurt right there.
That's amazing.
And yeah, I live here with my wife and our two kids, and we're part of a larger community of about 30 or so, 25 or 30 people. I don't know if you can see past the tree there. You can see a bit of our infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Today was our bi-weekly community work day. My job today was mixing cement to build a little pond for the chickens to bathe in.
Awesome. You
That's the
know,
life.
have you ever seen the I want to say it was My Name is Earl with
I know
Jason
the
Lee.
name. I know that name. I never saw any of
It's
it though. It's a
I
show,
should
right?
turn a light
Yeah,
on.
yeah. It's a show from the early
Hold on,
2000s, I
let me
think.
turn the light
Um,
on. It's too
he's
dark
gonna
in
turn
here.
a light on. But by the way, the reason I asked you is I immediately your background. There's just a great vibe coming off wherever you are right now,
My
and
setup
it's
is
also a lot more sunny and beautiful than it is here.
It's
Right?
super nice. This
Um,
little caravan behind me is my studio, but we have a guest right now, so I haven't been using it as much.
cool.
But I have a little studio set up in there, running right now off of rechargeable batteries, which we charge on solar power.
Wow.
It's a wild time.
How long you been
Yeah.
living down there?
Um, this time around, for about a year and a half, we came in September of 24, and we stayed until June, and then we left for the summer. It gets to be like 105 degrees and dry as F here.
Mm-hmm.
So we left. And then we came back in September, and we'll do roughly the same thing this coming summer.
Huh.
Excuse me. Um, and
When you go, where do you go?
last year we did too much. We went to work in Sicily. We had like a week of performances at a big 25th wedding anniversary for a client of mine from when I lived in New York, who threw a giant party and hired us to be the music. And from there, we went on around Europe, and then we went to the States, then we went to Brazil, which is where my wife is from, to play at another wedding. This summer, we're hoping to keep it a little more tight, like Czech Republic, where we have friends, and London, where we have friends and family, or England, where we have friends and family.
Love it. Cool.
Yeah.
So living a very very nomadic life.
Yeah. Excuse me. And also with this unfortunate cough, which I
Bless
thought
you.
would have passed by now. Hope it doesn't make the experience of whoever watches or listens to this too annoying. Um, yeah, we move around. We move around. We were actually just in the States the end of January, beginning of February. We came back about a week and a half ago, also to do some performances.
Cool.
And yeah,
Well, Dan's in Virginia, and I'm actually in upstate New York. Probably an hour, maybe a little longer north of Bard.
okay.
But I'm from the city originally, from New York City originally, um, and I lived there until pretty recently, outside of my time at
Where
Bard. I
where
live
in the city?
In Brooklyn, which is where I'm from.
Which
Um,
part?
Bay Ridge. It's by the Verrazano Bridge.
I know it. I lived in Brooklyn for 12 years.
Oh, great.
oh, okay.
Yeah, Dan lived in Brooklyn, though he's from. I don't. I'll let you tell your story, Dan.
Well, no, you're fine. Like the connection for all of us is Bard here, right? The three of us.
Yes.
And if it
Yes.
weren't for Bard, we wouldn't be meeting right now. Um, uh, I grew up outside of Boston, in a town called Needham, and then went to Bard College. Eventually, made my way to Bard College, where I worked with Keith. Met Keith. We became friends, colleagues, collaborators for, gosh, how long is it? Almost 30 years now.
Coming up on 30 years,
Coming
probably.
up on 30 years together as
When
friends.
did you graduate?
Uh, '01,
Oh,
and you
okay.
were 99, Keith?
I was 2000.
2000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Daniel, you were a senior my freshman year. I recognize your name.
Wow. Okay.
Um, I graduated in '05.
Yeah, I was one of like two or three bass players on campus, probably. So, and uh,
I wonder
definitely
if
playing music
maybe.
constantly at my senior year. I mean, that's all that was going on in my life.
Nice. Who were you playing with?
Well, besides Keith, so many different projects, but Keith, I can't remember if I had a band
Yeah,
going.
you
Nick
you
Jones, Raja Azar, Thurman
yeah,
Barker,
yeah.
Thurman was my
John
advisor.
Esposito.
Yeah.
What
So those were my teachers also, those two guys.
what
Yeah.
was the name of your
More
band?
Esposito than Barker.
More Esposito is well. We
Oh,
have a three-part interview with John Esposito because for us,
yeah.
I mean, I think I'll partially speak for Dan, but for me, John, he fucked me up and he changed like everything about how I approach music. And it wasn't. I don't even think he was. They just had brought him on as an adjunct in our senior year, but Dan and I
Right.
were doing this workshop where we would drive up into the mountains to his house every whatever it was, a weeknight I think it was, and we would just be there for so many hours, and it was I called it the jazz torture chamber because he would put a lead sheet in front of us, but then he would call out keys, so you would be transposing on the fly. That
Yes,
was
this
one of
sounds
my
like
two.
John.
That was one of
Yeah.
my two diarrhea experiences at Bard, where I was
Is
just
So,
like
that
very sick
guys,
going into
guys, as
that.
a bass player, I had like the cheat code for that. Like I tried to follow as much as I could about John, but if I played kind of the same line twice in a row it's a bass play. Everyone loved that. So if I could just find one
wow, man,
way
those are some
through,
killer substitutions, Daniel.
yeah, if I could just find one way through the path for this chart, I could
Yeah.
just do that again and again, and everyone else had to improvise and like do all this different stuff, and I would just hold on for dear life. Or if I wanted to really mix it up, I would pedal tone for a few bars, and
Which is always satisfying to the soul, you know?
yeah,
Keith, what's your instrument?
Guitar.
Cool.
We walked in and John was like, well, we're going to transpose. And we might be going in a pattern or I might just be calling them out. I might try to trick you guys and, call another song in the middle. Like we'll be playing rhythm changes, but then the bridge will be a blues and then we'll go back to, it was fucked up. And I was like, but John, guitar is easy. You just move your hands to the new key. He goes, well, just do that then. I was like, oh, okay. And then we started playing. And then we started playing, and I was like, oh, fuck. I am so fucked. This is so much harder. This is so much
Yeah.
harder.
Yeah.
All right, so look, we this is not part of the reason why we do this show. Obviously, is to also connect with people because we love that, but we want to make this about you. So that's important. We listened to the record, we loved it. I know you have
Thank
other
you.
records, but I guess we just felt like we wanted to focus. We can do another show, and we could talk about the one you did with your wife. We could do a million
Great.
shows. We're like, this is totally, obviously, just a completely, free form experience.
Cool.
So I'll kick it off and just say that I did love the record. So some things, just to give you some praise, I'll give you your props
All
up
right. I will
front. I'll
receive
give
it
you
willingly.
your flowers up front. I don't know what the kids say now.
We're not kids.
Some of the things that stuck out was, first of all, there was emotional depth to the album. There was a lot of great variety. I loved the arrangements, which I want to talk about more. There's some lyrics that jumped out at me that I thought were cool. There was a lot of arrangement stuff that I thought was cool. There was a lot of intentionality in arranging in terms of the instrumental mix and the harmonies and things. All really cool, and it also had a flow to it, which I thought was was apparently intentional. But Dan and I
Yes.
had the same experience. We were just talking before you jumped on that it felt like the record does feel like it takes you on a journey, but it kind of hits its stride in the middle, and then it's
Mm.
like, and then you really bring us home in a way that, like for a full record, I guess it almost felt like maybe it was like a concept album or something. Like it had this flow and a cohesiveness that I thought was really good.
Great.
So all that is really good. I made notes on all the different songs, but the first thing we always ask everyone, because we want to be like the stewards of people's musical journeys to some degree. So
Okay.
can you tell us your story, your musical journey, growing up, the whole thing? Like I think it's all part of the whole experience. Like it all informs it. And I think people want to know, like I'm saying, I'm sitting here thinking like maybe we're going to break you, probably not, but maybe you'll become like, this top 10 artist. And then people will say, oh, I want to know about Elijah. And then they'll come to this and like, holy shit, he told his story. Like we learned about him.
Cool.
So we want to
Sure.
hear your like superhero origin story. Um, it could be personal, but especially from a musical standpoint, obviously.
Sure.
And I'll shut up.
So I'll start by saying that it is a concept album, and now I will jump back to the beginning of my story, which will bring us up to what the concept is, and then we can launch from there to talk about the album. So, my musical origin story. I come from a family. My mom's side, everyone plays music. I'm the first one who plays professionally, and now my younger cousin also is a professional musician, among other things. Um, but everyone has played, actually, no, I should not say I'm the first one who's a professional musician. My great grandfather paid his way through college. He was born in 1896, so he would have been in college in the early, whatever, the middle tens or something. He paid his way through college playing fiddle. His son, my grandfather, is a piano player, spent some time as a trombonist. Um, his brother, my great uncle, was a world renowned organist, played in Notre Dame, played all the big churches around the world. Um, and then my mom plays guitar and harmonium and sings and writes. My two aunts, her sisters, are in a band with my cousin, a different cousin. So tons and tons of music in that family. My first guitar was my mom's guitar, which then my grandmother bought me a new guitar and took the old one, and now it's still in her house, even though she's passed on. I played it a couple of weeks ago. So there's a lot of musical legacy in the family, both as players and a handful of artifacts as well, which is cool. Um, my dad's side of the family, nobody is musical, but a lot of musical appreciation and love. And so there was always music around. And when I was in elementary school, I went to a Waldorf school. I played the little 6-hole flute, which was cool. Then we graduated to a recorder, which blew my mind. I still have my first recorder from when I was 8 years old. Um, and I remember they taught us this song called Land of the Silver Birch. It's like a Canadian rowing song. And I remember the feeling of the enchanted feeling that I got from this song. And I still sing this song to this day regularly, like in performances, in when I do music with children, especially when I do music with children, that's a song that I use. Um, but I remember right now telling you like the way the world looked purple the day that they taught us the song, and I went home. It was a Friday, and so I went home for the weekend, and I was just completely enchanted. Um, I think that's probably my first memory of that kind of experience.
How old do you think you were back then?
I was in third grade. I was 8.
Okay, bless you.
Thank you. Um, Going back a little bit earlier, prior to playing any instruments, as I said, my dad's family, my dad in particular, huge music lovers. He used to give me super endorphin rushes as a 1 and 2 and 3-year-old bouncing me on the bed on the couch, listening to the live version of 10th Avenue Freeze Out from Springsteen's like 5 record box set, the 75 to 85, with the Miami horns and the whole thing. And I mean, it's like such a rush. And so Springsteen was always really close to my heart because of those kinds of experiences with my dad. And that's only one of many songs of his that I really share with my dad. Um, and my dad also was really into Van Morrison, was really into the Grateful Dead. When I was 10, he started taking me to see the Grateful Dead. He took me across the country. I saw them 25 times before Jerry Garcia died, mostly on the East Coast, but we did go out to Las Vegas for 3 days with Dave Matthews Band opening, which for me as a 12-year-old, I was really into Dave Matthews Band as well as the Dead, so it was a real dream.
What city did you grow up in?
I grew up in suburban Maryland, right outside of Washington. Silver
Okay.
Spring, Maryland,
Yeah.
Kensington, Maryland.
Lucky you got to see the Dead before Jerry passed.
Yeah,
That's one of my regrets in life.
I feel very, I mean, feel. Yeah, I objectively know that I am very fortunate to have had that experience. Um, so he took me to see the Dead starting when I was 10. Um, I bought us both tickets to see Fish for a Father's Day present when I was 12, and he had to take me, and he probably paid for them too, but theoretically I bought them. Um,
Right.
and and we had seventh row center tickets, and that was a face melter.
And
And so, and for
what
him,
year was that?
that was October 8th, 1994.
94.
wow.
Dude,
Yeah,
that was Fish's like
Wow, that's amazing.
they
yeah,
were they were crazy in the 90s.
they were
Yeah,
crazy.
I'm also fortunate. I've seen them maybe 20 times,
Nice,
and
nice.
between like 94 and probably 2001.
Yeah,
So that was like an amazing time. Holy
it
shit,
was.
they
It
were
was.
fucking
I
good back
also
then.
They were. I mean, honestly, well, we can talk about them. I'd love to talk about them. I saw them. Then it took us. I was instantly hooked. It took my dad a few shows. I think it was our third or maybe fifth. It was our fifth show that he got it. I had already gotten it, and we proceeded to see them many, 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 many times from '94 through the hiatus in 2000, and then when they came back, I saw them. I saw them like a few times each tour until about 2011, and since then I've seen them just a couple of times. Um, but especially since I moved out of the States in 2017, whenever I get back there, if I can see any of them, I go. And I've gotten to see Trey now twice solo. I've seen Fish once in the last like 8 years, but they're
If
still like they're the heart and soul of my musical love still.
if you come around, I live right near SPAC,
Oh, cool.
Saratoga Performing Arts Center.
Of course, yeah,
So
I've seen them there.
we can go see them together.
Brilliant.
You could stay with me
I am in. Thank you.
if you make it back around the time of
Um,
one of those shows.
sure. Well, there's like a very slim chance that I'm going to be back in the States in September. So my mom's putting on an art show at the beginning of September. So last night I went to put in my ticket request for fish shows in Colorado because that may be the only time I get to see them. I don't know if it's going to happen. In any case,
Yeah.
so starting the Grateful Dead at 10, Fish at 12. Um, my dad also took me to see Van Morrison when I was young, younger even than that. Um, when Springsteen came back with the E Street Band, my dad and I went to Cleveland for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame opening concert in August of '95, at which time we also saw Rusted Root, which was another intensely awesome experience, which I caught a lot of again with my dad from, age 13 to 17. Um,
Rusted Root was unexpectedly the loudest concert I've ever seen. I do
really, where
not
is
know
that?
why. Beacon Theater.
Weird.
It was weird. I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't hear for days.
I can't really imagine seeing them in the Beacon,
Yeah.
but I suppose anything is possible. Um, anyway, so I don't want to go. I don't want to. I don't want to tell uninteresting details. I saw lots and lots of music at a young age. I took some music lessons. I took some guitar lessons. I took some flute lessons. I didn't take
What
drum lessons
what is
initially.
your main instrument?
Yeah, that's
Guitar, and drum set.
Oh my
Um,
God. I would
yes,
not have guessed that
Did
from
you
this
think keyboard,
record.
Keith? Did you think a keyboard?
I
Yes.
was a keyboard player.
So I have to say that the harmonic sophistication of the album
Mm,
and the keyboard forwardness of the record
yeah.
actually says a lot to me about your ego, which is a high praise. But and I didn't want to bring
Interesting.
up, and I heard Fish in there too, but I don't want to bring it up because Fish is so polarizing.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, I heard it in the guitar playing. So I was like, oh, it sounds like whoever this guitar player is definitely has heard Trey because there's certainly some influence in there. Anyway, go on.
Mm.
Sorry.
Well, this will all tie in with
Yes.
why I opened by saying it is a concept album. Um, so saw lots and lots of music with my dad. Took some music lessons, but mostly I look at those years of going to see Fish repeatedly, going to see Rusted Root repeatedly. Jerry died when I was 13. I went and saw Rusted Root open for the Allman Brothers Band on August 8th of 1995. I took psychedelics for the first time. The next morning I woke up and found out Garcia had died. So that the psychedelic experience opened my ears to, among other things, bass, like the bass guitar I had never been really conscious of until then. Um, so I feel like um, that was a huge moment in my evolution as a musician. Um, and I didn't see the dead at all after that. So my teachers were the drummers of Rusted Root. Really, everybody in Rusted Root. I studied all this, everything they were playing. And Fish also, though I never spent a lot of time trying to learn how to play like Fish for whatever reason. Like I learned everybody else's songs that I was into, but I was like, Fish exists in another place for me. I never learned his solos. Um, bits and pieces, but that just didn't seem so relevant to me. Um, I can play 150 Dead songs. At this point, I can play a ton of Fish songs too, but just the song stuff, not all the compositional stuff. So those were my teachers. We like going to see rock shows, getting up close, watching their fingers night after night. That's how I learned. That was like my initial stuff, my initial education. Um, I started taking drum lessons when I reached the point that I could see and figure out what the drummer was doing, but couldn't immediately do it. And that's when I knew I needed lessons. So like my brain got good enough to be able to figure out what was going on, and it was beyond my capability. So then I started taking lessons, which I didn't do for very long. I was really more into just self teaching. I played along to records all the time. Um, and through high school, I was always in all of the whatever the bands were, the jazz band, the orchestra, the symphonic band, the choruses. I did every group musical thing that there was to do, um, but still mostly avoided private instruction, um, and continued to see lots of bands.
Well, did you avoid private instruction on purpose? Like you were like allergic to it, or was it just
I
sort
just
of?
didn't. I didn't really like it that much. I didn't like um, having to practice. Having to practice a thing. I still don't really like that. Um, and what did I want to say about that? Yeah, so like I mentioned flute. I actually started on saxophone when I was 8, and I learned how to read music from that. From 8 to 10, I was taking every week saxophone lessons. Probably the most consistent private lessons span I ever had. So I learned how to read music. Then I got into playing flute. drums and guitar all at the same time when I was 12. And so I always maintained some ability to read music. I read best on flute, even though I don't play the flute the best at this point. It just the fingering stuck with me from all the way back. Um, so yeah, high school I was always involved in everything that I could be. I had a band. I got a 4-track. I started making stuff in my basement. Um, and started writing songs. Found that I only really had a band in I had kind of a shitty band in 10th grade and then a slightly better band in 12th grade. But mostly I was doing stuff on my own. Lots of overdubbing. Um, and because I was playing guitar and drums, I could do most of what I wanted, and sing. Um, so then I went to Bard, and I was pretty sure I didn't want to major in music because for the same reason I didn't like lessons. I didn't want that kind of pressure to fuck with what I knew I already loved to do and was what I wanted to do. My prime my prime intention in going to Bard or going to college in any college was to be in a band. I knew I wanted to do that. So on the third or fourth day of school, I heard really good bass playing coming. I lived in Tewksbury. I heard really good bass playing coming from upstairs. I grabbed what I had, which was a djembe, and brought it up into that room. And we were a band for 5 years, starting that day. Um, we were called Mother Ming at first, and
Sure, I remember that name.
yeah. So I was the drummer in that band. And then our name changed and personnel changed slightly, but we stayed together. The core of us stayed together all through all 4 years plus one more year after. Um, and then I went to tell this story thoroughly, I risk slandering a fellow Bard student who might see this. So I'm reluctant to give a name. In fact, I won't give a name unless you
Yeah.
beg me. But I
No,
went to see someone's senior concert, and it was so bad.
it was mine.
It was not either of yours.
Oh, you think oh, okay. I was wondering if it was me.
Was it
No, no,
Dan's?
no. No, no, it was neither of yours. But it was so bad.
Hmm.
And they were letting him graduate. And I thought, oh, I can be a music major because I can do whatever the fuck I want. I'll do it. So, kind of, I don't know, maybe a little bit of a weak or negative context, but it worked for me. And I wound up loving the music program.
Whoever that was, I'll just put myself out there and say my senior concert was utter dog shit. Dan's was pretty good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Nice. Well, so let's say it was yours, Keith. Thank you, Keith, for putting on such
Yeah.
a terrible show that got me in the right place
Yeah.
at the right time. Um, yeah. So I entered the music department, and that was a great choice. I loved it. I tried to do a double major in literature and music, but I was reading a lot of shit I didn't like, and it was taking all my time away from playing music, and so I stopped doing that. Thurman Barker was my advisor, and his input was mostly not that useful, but he did give me really, really good advice in our first meeting, in which he said, take as many classes as you can, take full 20 credit course load every semester. Just do that. I don't even know if he gave me a reason why. Just do it. So I did, and I wound up finishing everything except for the second half of my senior project and one additional credit in 3 years. So my last year at Bard, I only had to pay for 5 credits, but I was able to audit a full course load. So I got basically a free year of Bard, which was almost a free year of Bard, which was awesome. Thank you to Thurman. And John Esposito Thurman was my first advisor because I wrote my college entry essay about my drum set, about the evolution of my drum set from cardboard boxes until an actual drum set. And There was a subtle reference to Trey's influence in that, actually, in that essay. Um, and and then I switched to John Esposito as my advisor, and um, me and the other, there was like two or three others of us in my class who were all majoring in jazz. And we made our way very happily through the program, and it was fucking awesome. I learned so much that I use every day to this day, even if it's only just because I'm thinking about it. Even if I'm not like playing or something. Um, so I studied with Peter O'Brien, who played all the time with John. Um,
What instrument does Peter play?
he's the drummer. No, the bass player you're thinking of is Ira
Ira
Coleman,
Coleman.
probably.
Ira
Right.
Coleman. Yeah, Pete O'Brien. I remember. I don't know if we ever met him, but I know he's
Hmm.
a long time
Total
collaborator with John.
longtime collaborator, total monster, total bro, and great teacher. Um, I was working out of a book that I got with him just like 3 nights ago, that I got with him 20 years ago, or whatever. I
So
found in my mom's
you
house.
still work on drums?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just when we were in the States last week or whatever, 2 weeks ago, I was playing drums for those performances. Um, those were like private event kind of
Did you
club date
take
thingies.
Did you take private guitar lessons at Bard?
At Bard, I didn't. I
Okay.
think I had like one lesson with Mike D'Amico, but I wasn't. My focus wasn't there. When I left Bard, I stayed up there for one additional year after graduation. The idea was the band was then going to move to New York together and continue being a band. And I had a realization that this was not true for me anymore. So I quit the band basically as soon as we got there, and spent a year kind of floundering around, trying to get in the scene, in any kind of scene in New York. And but I had no money, and all of my contacts were still out of New York. So I wound up upstate a lot playing. I wound up still playing at Bard with some frequency. Um, and I also, it was at this point that I got involved in the Kirtan world, like Sanskrit devotional chanting with Western music. The most famous person of which is Krishna Das. Excuse me. So I got in as a drummer. I got in the band of this woman called Wa, who was part of Krishna Das's band and touring operation, and then she went off. And I saw her perform, and she said, like from the stage, she said, "My life is falling apart. My marriage is falling apart. My husband, who was on stage with her, is my touring partner. But since we're breaking up, I don't really know what my future looks like. I don't know what my band looks like." End of story. And then she went into the next song. And so afterward, I went up to her and I was like, "I'm a drummer." And I wound up being in her band for 2 years. We went all over the world together.
So
Wow.
cool.
Um, we did a bit of recording, but mostly it was just live. We played lots in the United States, um, in Europe. Once I think we did one European tour. We did Costa Rica, and and from being in her band, I met tons of other people in that world. And nowadays, that world is full of fucking awesome musicians. Like the standard of musicianship in that world has gone up a lot. When I got involved, it was not so high. So the fact that I like was a real player, I got a ton of work. I
Hmm.
got called by many of these like chant leaders. So that was a mainstay of my early post college career, was playing in yoga centers and yoga festivals. Um, and then it happened that my mom started making that kind of music as well. Her name is Claire Oakes. She has 7 albums out. Excuse me, which I helped produce most of them with her. Um, and so, yeah, that was a big part. That was a
Is
big
it
part of, yeah,
is
go
that
ahead.
type of like chanting, like I don't even know what that is, to be honest with you? Is it
Hmm.
like like in the Hindu tradition?
Yeah, it comes out of the Hindu tradition. It's the Hindu gods and goddesses names. basically repeating their
Yeah.
names in various combinations and orders. Um,
Okay.
it's primarily call and response.
Uh huh.
It's a pretty ecstatic practice. Can it's There could be some real down moments when it wasn't working, when it wasn't connecting,
Yeah.
but when it was up, and it was up most of the time, it those experiences remain some of my most ecstatic musical experiences, even if the bands weren't like the hottest players that I ever played with,
Yeah.
because the energy in the room would just take off because everyone was there, meaning everyone in the audience was there as a participant, like they were there to give of themselves and give of their heart and be together,
Mm-hmm.
which was awesome.
Yeah.
And we wound up playing some pretty big rooms for some pretty big crowds. Um, Also some big rooms for very small crowds, which was sometimes awkward. Um, and Yeah, that was a really cool experience. And like I said, brought me to Costa Rica, brought me to Europe, got me involved in one of the other chant leaders who heard me and hired me. I wound up, because of him, playing with Bakiti Kumalo on a handful of occasions, the bass player from Graceland and a bunch of other Paul Simon records. Um, I played Call Me Al with him, and he did the famous bass break. Um, and I got to play with Eric Bazillion, who is from the Hooters. He wrote the song "What If God Was One of Us" that Joan Osborne made real famous.
Oh yeah.
Um, and he's like his band, the Hooters, was big in the '80s. They still play. They still tour every year. Um, but he's also had a big career as a songwriter and producer. And he got hooked up with my friend David, who was a chant artist, and suddenly I got to play with him too. So a lot of doors were opened as a result of uh, that kind of scene. Um, Up to and including the fact that I went to Barcelona to play with another chant artist in 2017, and when that festival was done, I one thing led to another, and that's how I met my wife. Like a couple days later, because we were both in Barcelona. So I owe a lot of my life to the Kirtan world and my participation in it as a musician, mostly as a drummer, although as a guitar player as well.
I think
Um,
when I was opened up to that world by like visiting ashrams and participating in like group chants and things like that
mhm.
was also when just in general either it started happening or I started noticing it more. Just like fortuitous serendipities start occurring. And it's
Yeah,
like when I started doing that, I was like, holy shit, what the fuck kind of magic have I gotten myself involved in? You know?
it is. It really is. It really. I know just what you mean. Like I have gone through different periods of my life where I have been more or less uh like aligned with the spiritual trappings of that kind of stuff. Like sometimes I've been really on board with the stories and the songs and the belief and the thing, and other times I'm like, all those religious texts are just documents of military dominance and manipulation. Like I can't get behind it. But when I start chanting, that shit happens. That magic shit happens. Like I said, I met my wife. I live here. I'm in this hammock because I know my wife. Because all these different things, and it's it's impossible to separate that that flow, that thread of influence from my life. My parents actually were both followers of an Indian guru as teenagers when they met each other. So
Oh, which one?
goes all the way back.
Do you
Prem
remember?
Rawat.
Okay. That sounds familiar. I'm trying to think
He's
of the
still
guru
active.
that
He's still
started.
active.
I don't remember. Yeah.
At the
Oh, well,
time, he was
actually,
known. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Now I'm trying to think of the guru that whose ashram I visited a few times was in New York City, but they have a bigger one up here, and now but I can't remember. It's upstate.
Is
Uh,
the upstate one Super Soul Farm?
that doesn't sound familiar. I'll
No.
I'll
Okay.
maybe if I think of it before the end of the show, or maybe I'll won't think of it, or maybe I will, and then I'll email you or something.
Cool, cool. Anyway, so that stuff, that kind of Eastern mysticism has always been present in my life. Um, as I mentioned, psychedelic drugs also came into my life early on. Um, and I always use them with some kind of spiritual mentality, for better and worse, for overly self-seriousness and worse or better, whatever. That's always a part of it. Um, and pardon me with this cough. I'm going to start taking antibiotics tomorrow. Unfortunately, it's been going
And
on
we're
for too
sorry to
long.
keep you talking so
Thanks for,
long. I
yeah,
hope it's
sorry you
not,
have to.
you know.
You know, I considered even rescheduling, but because how many times we finally found a date, I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it.
Thanks for suffering
And
through. I don't think
oh,
anybody is going to
it's a
mind.
joy.
Yeah,
Great, great. I'm having a great time.
yeah.
So so simultaneous to my move to New York, playing all this kirtan stuff, the first year I was mostly not in New York. I was mostly working outside of the city. When I was in the city, I was just like sweating and trying to figure out how I was going to get another gig. Then someone I knew from Bard, Owen Roberts, who he was a assistant volleyball coach there, very tall, handsome man with a really nice beard. He and I were good friends, and he got a job in a newly forming kids arts and activity space in Tribeca, and he got me a job there. And suddenly I had money. And they were paying $35 an hour to play music with kids. It was a fucking dream. And so that began another avenue of my musical career while in New York, which was doing kid stuff. Um, I did lots and lots of mommy and me classes at that place, and then when that place closed, I moved to another one, and then another one, and then another one. Um, did lots of little kid birthday parties. Wound up the last bunch of years, I stopped doing the mommy and me stuff, and I was only teaching private lessons at a elementary school downtown in the West Village, St. Luke's School. I was just doing private lessons in the after school program
Drums,
and
guitar, both.
whatever anybody wanted to learn. It was,
Yeah,
5 and 6 year olds up
yeah.
to 12. And so, yeah, sure, I teach that, of course. Uh, we had an amazing program there. Actually, there was like a 5 or 6 of us, that we kind of built a music program, uh, collaboratively. I mean, we were mostly teaching private lessons, but twice a year we would do a week of like rock band stuff, and we'd put the kids in different combinations and choose the songs, and we did amazing shit. Those were some of my happiest moments, like organizing 10-year-olds to play I Want to Know What Love Is by Foreigner, because for some reason I was obsessed with that song when it came time to choose the song for the kids, and that's what we did. And they're playing on their trumpets. It's fucking awesome.
Well, hey, man, that song slapped. That's totally understandable choice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have no shame um about that anyway. So I had that going on, and then I started making solo records. So I did my first solo record. Um, I released it in 2009, and it was all like homebrew, done in various bedrooms and mixed at Bard, in the studio at Bard. Um,
Did you mix
and
it yourself, or did you have a
so
mixer?
my very good friend Ian Turner, who graduated in '08. He came as like a continuing education student. He entered as a freshman at 25, and we became really. He's an incredible songwriter and performer and singer, and he totally enchanted me at an open mic that I was hosting, and we've been friends ever since. And he's actually mixed all but one of my albums, including the one that we're here to talk about today.
Maybe you could introduce us
Excuse
to
me.
him as well.
You absolutely should talk to him.
Yeah, and Bard, sort of like connecting with Bard people, because it's like a whole universe. and especially in the creative space, there's no end to the amount of people and the talent that is in this pool, this like body of people
Yeah.
that we could spend our entire podcast just interviewing bar people, which is basically what we do, and we would never run out of people.
No, definitely not. It's
Yeah.
incredible, the fertile bed of Annandale and Hudson. Um, yeah, so Ian mixed it, and uh, then what happened? Then I started taking guitar lessons in New York. I decided I wanted to have my shit together on the guitar in a different way. So I got this great teacher, Chris Perello, not a Bard student, but referred to me by Greg Glassman, who plays trumpet with Esposito. Um, Totally amazing guitar player, totally amazing dude, great hang, great teacher, like exceptional teacher. Um, and I got a weekly gig at a restaurant in Hohokus, New Jersey, in whatever county that is, North Jersey, North Fancy Town, New Jersey. So I would do my lessons with Chris on Tuesday afternoon, and then together we'd take the train out there and play the gig and work on all the stuff that we had just, play all the stuff we had just been
And
working on in the
What are
lesson.
you learning in the gig, in the lesson in the gig?
We were doing like jazz from the start stuff. So I
standard.
was playing, yeah, standard. I was playing all blues and the whole real book stuff. Um, and I don't feel as though I became an excellent jazz guitarist by any means, but I learned a lot, and it definitely helped me in my playing of everything else into my composition. Um, and So yeah, so I had all these different threads going on. I had the Kirtan thing. I had studying jazz guitar with him and playing these restaurant gigs where I got to pretend I was a jazz guitarist. Um, I started working with an upright bass player, and so and he was already much better. He was like a legit jazz bassist, and but he and I joined like a folk Americana band together, or I was already in it, and I brought him into it. and and I started playing mandolin in that band. And so I was kind of like bringing this semi jazz stuff that I was practicing on guitar to the mandolin, to the Americana band, and that was really really fun. We drove to Memphis and recorded in Sun Studios, uh, which was a lot of fun. And so I had all I mean, I guess my version of a musical life in New York. Anyone who's done it has their version of all the million different things they did to make it work. Um, I played with this guy Alex Lodico, who's a trombonist who had a like music under New York license, and he would do the subway thing, and he had a giant band. It was one of these things where a bunch of horn players, screaming guitar players, and attract a whole big crowd of people. So I got in his band, and we did a bunch of subway shows, and then we wound up doing some club dates as well, and we did a recording. I think one or two recordings. All these different little things.
That's a really
Um,
New York experience.
Yeah.
totally, totally. It was. I mean, it was the fucking best. It's what I wanted. Um, and I started also. I was working with a lot of like singer songwriters as a sideman, doing a lot of, again, like, yeah, I play that, whatever you want, kind of stuff. So drums, mandolin, guitar, bass, never a keyboard. In fact, yeah, going to the thing, I'm not a keyboard player at all. All the keyboard parts on that record, except for the piano solo in one of the second to last song, that's all instrumental. That's my friend Daniel Marone. Everything else is I programmed it. I didn't play it at all. Um,
So, so some of the keyboards are actually like programmed in what sense? Like you put them into the sequencer,
yeah,
or
yeah.
you or
Like
did you play them
I
in through
played,
you played
I
them in
played
through
them in, but
guitar?
then I went and fixed it. No, I played them in with a keyboard, and then
Oh,
I went and fixed them.
oh,
Just to make them be right.
okay. Let's
Hey guys, for the sake of brevity, let's get to your album because
let's
we have
talk
Let's
about
talk
the
about the
album.
a
record. Yeah,
whole thing to talk about there. But I
I
did just want
agree.
to interject and say it's great to hear your story. because I didn't realize how much you and I would have in common with the New York music experience. We
Cool. Well,
kind of
we
share
can
share
we
a
can
lot
do
on that
that.
trajectory.
Nice.
But no, if there's a quick little segue to how you got to this last album,
Yeah, sure. So
yeah,
we'll jump real quick.
yeah.
So I did the album in 2009. I did another album in 2012, which was like live in the studio with a band to tape. Got to have that experience. And then I did subsequent to that, all my other solo albums were like back to the bedroom kind of vibe. Um, but I didn't make them sound that way. They're all huge productions with drums and everything. And that's thanks largely to Ian Turner, who's a fucking studio genius. And that's why you should talk to him. Um, so I did another solo album in 2017. I released another one in 2020. And I had a couple of like other projects that I was doing records with. Then in 2018, I got married. My wife and I got pregnant, and then we got married. Um, and about 1 month later, my dad killed himself,
Oh,
and he had been in declining mental health for many years. And in fact, subsequent to his death, I've realized uh, I realized a lot about his mental health that I wasn't aware of or wasn't able to see when he was alive because of how close I was to him, and also because of just a lack of knowledge or understanding. Um, it was his birthday just a couple of days ago. That's why another reason I wanted to do this interview now rather than pushing it further down the road, because it seems appropriate. Because um, after he died, so my wife was like 4 months pregnant when he died, uh, and my entire life changed at that moment. We were married, we were about to have a baby. I quit all my jobs in New York. I gave up my apartment, and we left the United States, which was the plan. The only part that wasn't the plan was my dad dying. Um, so I was suddenly like in intense grief, intense I was intensely disoriented. My wife and I knew each other. We had a 1 year long distance relationship, and when we like reunited is when we got pregnant. So we didn't really know each other that well. And she's Brazilian, and so suddenly we're in Brazil. My dad has just died. I have none of my people around me. She's pregnant, so she had only so much to give in terms of support. Um, it was a very difficult emotional time. Um, and then we came here to Spain, where we live now, to have our baby, because there's a off grid midwifery and doula school here where my wife had studied. And so when we got pregnant, we came back here to have our baby. Our baby was born at home here. Um, so just like everything that I just described to you, all the rich tapestry of New York single musician life, gone. And instead, no dad, becoming a dad, surrounded by people I'm just getting to know. And in the midst in that like emotional and life scenario, I started writing songs. And when we found my dad, he had with him this little voice recorder. He used to take a lot of notes. I mean, his mental health decline, mental and emotional health. One of the things that marked it was his memory was just disappearing, like crumbling. So he had notes to remind himself to take notes about the thing that he was taking notes on the other day. Like super lots of layers of trying to keep his mind together. So one of his tools was a little digital voice recorder. He had it in his pocket when we found him, and on it, the last entry is him saying, "I'm sitting down to meditate at about 5." And I thought that would be a cool thing to work a record around. So the album is called At About 5. And it begins with his voice saying that. Like I took the sample from that recording and put it in the sampler, and then like triggered it up and down the keyboard. And so you hear his voice at its normal pitch, and then up high and down low, and there's all this delay. And so it's swirling around him saying, sitting to meditate at about five, at about five. Took me a bunch of years to actually start this project. And while I was working on it, I had a lot of doubts like, is this okay that I'm doing this? Am I somehow betraying him? Use the, I don't know how deep into the psychology we should go right now, but there was a lot. There was a lot there of like a lot of feeling, a lot of doubt, a lot of guilt, lot to work through. And I was working diligently, um, artistically, creatively, but also through various therapeutic techniques. And um, in 2021, we had another daughter. Our first daughter was born in 2019, another one in 2021. And so, I've been working through this stuff with my dad as I become a dad. And my dad and I were extremely close. I talked about all the shows we went to and all that stuff. And this is now we're getting back to the point of why I said it's a concept album, because this is the concept. The album is the songs I was writing around the time of his death and becoming a dad. And so there's references like in the first song to, or I guess the second song, the first narrative song, to, I say, there's just one thing missing in the treasure that you left. It's just the treasure you left. I can't remember what the next line is. I reviewed the album a couple of nights ago to be ready for this interview, but obviously not enough. Because now it's been out for a year and a half. When I caught my daughter, I was singing your song. I was singing our song, and your voice wasn't there to sing along. So he sang Thunder Road by Bruce Springsteen as a lullaby to me when I was little. You Are My Sunshine and Thunder Road. Those were my lullabies from my dad.
So Thunder Road is probably one of the greatest rock songs ever written.
Without a doubt.
So he definitely had he knew music. He felt music.
Oh yeah, incredibly deeply. And he was supportive of me from the jump. The idea of me being a musician. He didn't want me to go to school. He didn't want me to get a job. He just wanted me to play. I wanted to go to school. I wanted to learn how to work, and I'm glad I did. But he was always like, play. Like, what are you doing? Play. Play. I should say, it's important to say, my mom also. My mom supported me going to school and learning how to live in the world, but never did anything other than support me being a musician to do that. She was never like, what's your backup plan? And I later learned that she defended me from those kinds of questions from her parents, and my dad did from his parents or his mom. His dad was not so connected. So they were both always champions for me, and sort of, yeah, they were protecting me from other people's bullshit, and so I didn't even know about it. I didn't know my grandparents were concerned or worried or, what's his plan kind of stuff.
Don't worry, they sent you to the least practical school in the entire country.
And I think but I honestly think the jazz program with John Esposito was one of the most practical majors at Bard. He taught me how to work.
Yeah. Actually, I can. Yeah, you can defend that position. Absolutely.
He totally taught me how to work, up to and including, side story, our keyboard player in Mother Ming, or in the later version of Mother Ming, was sick, and we had a gig, and we had already graduated. This was like, summer of 2005. We just graduated. So we hired John to do the gig with us. Idea. And I called him up and I sent him, I left him a voice message, and I was like, hey, so John, we're thinking, and Aki's not well. And so we were thinking, like, you could do the gig maybe. I don't know if you'd be available, but here it is. And it's going to be time, blah, 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 blah. And he called me back and he said, this is my last lesson that I'm going to give you as your teacher. If you want to hire someone for a gig, you call them You tell them where it is, when it is, and how much it pays.
True story.
And
So
he
That's
did the
so
gig with
John.
us. He did the gig with us. It was great.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, so you've got these references to in the record,
Yeah.
the loss of my dad, becoming a father. There's a song called "Pray the Healing Comes," which starts. I turned around to notice that I'm doing the best that I can, just like my father did when he was the man. And now the job is mine, and the water is wide, and I bear a broad paddle, and I dip and pull against the tide. So, like, I wasn't sure I wanted to have kids. He was definitely a love of the mind, like, the world is over, and this is no time to be having more children. Um, and that was a hard his prophet of doomness was a difficult thing to grow up with, even though he wasn't wrong in a lot of ways. Um, so I had to work through a bunch of that, becoming a dad and needing to be or wanting not wanting to be that way with my children, not wanting to bring the darkness of the world right to their doorstep. Like, let them see it for themselves, and let me not be let me not bring hopelessness to them. Um, so there's a ton that I got from my dad that I'm really grateful for. The intensity of his love, the intensity of fun that we had together. Um, but as I said, like, only after his death have I mean, I'm continuing to understand his behavior in objective ways, in new and objective ways, up to and including last night. I had a Zoom call with his two brothers and his sister, um, for the purpose of this, of like understanding, greater understanding, and realizing like they have a perspective that I didn't have. And um, my dad had a lot of anger towards them most of his life, and so that kind of kept me at a distance. And so I'm working to uh, uh, shorten that distance, and by way of knowing them, and also by way of getting closer to my dad in his fullness, understanding him in his fullness. My dad's name is David, and yeah, like I said, his birthday, he would have been 69 on Friday.
I like that name,
And
David. A good Jewish name. That's
yeah, yeah,
good.
David Shalom Tucker. Um, so so yeah, the album does, you said it
Mhm.
seemed like it was a concept album, that there was an arc and a flow. It absolutely does. You've got that introduction, the sitting to meditate at about 5, which is all dreamy and
let, let me just
it's
say one quick thing about the introduction. So
sure.
I Dan and I were debating, but I had a sense of what it was about. Um, I had a sense that your dad passed. I had a sense, obviously, that you were becoming a father, or you had become a father. That's apparent in there. We were debating about whether David was your dad or your grandfather, because of the middle. There's like a middle thing. Oh,
It says
I'm
Grandpa
sorry,
Dave.
Grandpa Dave. Right, right.
Yeah,
But he
Okay.
was speaking to your kids, I guess, apparently.
yeah,
But so I'll point out one thing that struck me from the beginning of the record, which is very, I don't know if this is intentionally or unintentionally ominous, but the Sitting to Meditate About 5 track, which I guess is like the intro to the album, the
yeah,
synths on there are so like John Carpenter slash Stranger Things. And
yeah. That's true.
even though it's a meditative topic on its face, it's very ominous sounding.
Yeah,
I don't know. Anyway,
yeah. Well, I mean,
that
there's
jumped out.
Let me jump in there. I was at the time I was thinking, is this like kind of like Blade Runner
Right.
almost? So it's funny, Keith, that you thought the same thing. I will this context of the album is mind blowing. It really I'm it's impressive how much you like have expressed in this concept album. The two letters moment in the album, that's when I felt this distinct like presence come into the art. I think
Hmm.
I imagine that's David there. Um, and and like he said, from that point that there's this emotional journey. Just it grabbed right a hold of me like immediately. So
Nice, nice.
I think the I was telling Keith before we got on here. I love the interlude I guess it's psychedelic influence and the openness. It's my favorite elements compositionally. Some of my
When you
favorite
say the
moments, I should say my
interlude,
favorite moments, and hats
what do
off
you
to
mean
Ian
the
Turner.
interlude? Oh yeah.
I'm not even. There's just a the way you put the songs together. There was moments of just like uh, experimental
Hmm.
vibing, but Ian Turner. There's so much going on, so many instruments, so much arrangement, and the production never sounded overly crowded. There was like room for everything in there. I was like, how
Yeah,
on earth
so
is this happening?
that's the spaciousness is that's where hats off to Ian. He's a brilliant mixer. He's also a brilliant synthesist and producer and sound creator. And has put his made his put left his mark on my last two albums, which were done um like before this one. One of them was done during the pandemic remotely. Like he and I had done acoustic guitar and drums and voice. And then the pandemic happened and I was in Brazil and he was in New York. And he, along with some of our friends, finished the album. Like I was on Zoom with my headphones during sessions, but all the recording and everything happened there. Um, and he was always preaching synthesizers to me, and I was always like, no, I'm not. I mean, I like what you're doing with them, but I don't want to have anything to do with them. And then during the pandemic, I started getting into production and synths and all of this stuff. And at about five, I decided not to involve him as a producer, whereas he had been a producer. So all everything I did everything on that album. I did except for the song "Talk Talk Talk," which is with a Brazilian horn and percussion band here. I played so there's them. First two songs have another bass player and the Daniel Marone piano solo on the song "Sackcloth Boatman." But everything else I did. So it's my first expression of synthesizer world. Um, and then Ian made sense of it all. Oh, I should say he played the bass line on Talk 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 also. He played the synth bass on there. Um, so all the keyboards, all the synths, all the melodies, everything, that was I was like, I'm gonna do this myself. I'm not gonna get Ian, who's already a wizard and knows how to do all this stuff. Um, and also I felt like uh, another part of my mission and intention in making the album was we're going to talk about Trey now. So Trey made an album called Ghosts of the Forest, which came out just before my first daughter was born in April. It came out in April of 2019. And it's his grief album. It's about one of his dearest friends who died. And the whole album is dedicated to him. And this friend of his loved it when Trey just like ripped the guitar. And so, I mean, Trey's never been accused of subtlety. Uh, he rips all the time, but he made a special point of ripping on this album in honor of his friend. And because I have always spiritually and psychologically identified with Trey since I was 12 years old, and my dad also loved a good guitar solo, I was like, I'm also going to play some fucking guitar solos on this album. Um, and so the Me Without You and Learning to Bury the Dead, I was just like, yes, I'm playing these for my dad. I'm playing these for Trey. I'm playing these for Trey's dead friend. And I'm playing for myself because fuck it. This is who I want to be. I want to be a guitar hero. I believe in guitar solos. I love guitar solos. I'm not the greatest guitarist, but I'm fucking going for it. And that was my attitude on the record.
I
That's
thought the
great.
guitar solos were great, and I actually, because for some reason I thought you were a keyboard player because it's such a keyboard and synth heavy album,
Yeah.
that, and because there were arrangement choices, like there were there were actually conspicuous keyboard solo and like organ solo breaks, and then there was
Hmm.
even one song where there was a keyboard solo and then a guitar solo and then a keyboard solo. It was a very intentional arrangement
That's learning
choice.
to bury the dead.
Yeah, so all of that stuff was like, oh, this is a dude who has. I actually was going to ask you if this was like these were full band arrangements that had been just and that were developed over time, but apparently not. This was all in the box.
Yeah, I did all of this in the box in the head and yeah, built it step by step. Um, Another influence that I should mention, who I also
Oh, I'm
received
sorry, but
from
I was
my
going to
dad.
say
Oh
the
yeah.
guitar
Oh, sorry,
solos
sorry.
were great. I just wanted to say the guitar solos are great, and I assumed that you had found another guitar player that was great,
No,
and that
no,
was the
those are
guitar
mine.
player in your
Thank you.
band. So good job.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you.
job. I'm flipping through my notes, by the way. Literally, my first note is, ooh, like the guitars.
Nice.
Because I just like shredding too. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like, oh, it's like someone's going for it in there. And then I
Yes.
kept listening. I'm like,
It's
wait, is this him or what's going on? But good job.
thank you. Thank you. Um, I should mention another important influence musically and sort of mythic figurally, who I also got from my dad, is Todd Rundgren. And are you familiar with him?
I'm not.
Yeah.
So you know Bearsville Studios in Woodstock?
Yes.
That was his studio. Um, Back in the day. And he's you do know him, even though you don't know him, because besides his solo career, which is mostly the stuff of cult fandom, like small but completely rabid, he's produced some of the biggest albums ever, including Meatloaf's "Bad Out of Hell,"
Okay.
um,
Okay.
and he produced "Skylarking" by XTC. He produced one of the New York Dolls albums. Um, he's a big influence on Tame Impala. Tame Impala cites him as an influence, and they've actually worked together now. Um, anyway, he's amazing. You should listen to him. He's got a song called "Love Is the Answer," which my song "Me Without You," the way it starts with the like kind of swirly Wurlitzers and drums, and then the acoustic guitar comes in, finger picking. That's like directly ripped from his song. Again, my dad loved Todd Rundgren, so it's sort of like just as I played those guitar solos for him and for Trey and for Chris, I was bringing in this Todd Rundgren
Yeah.
element and influence
I was hearing Steely
because I'm
Dan in
painting a
that one.
picture for my dad. Yeah, Steely Dan is sort of the like cold, heartless version of Todd Rundgren.
It's Keith.
Um,
Totally.
It's funny you said that, Keith. Like Keith and I have just known each other way too long. Because I was like Steely Dan because there was a lot of harmonies going on, but I was like, no, it's not clinical. It's
yeah,
not. This isn't clinical at
yeah,
all. This is from the heart, not from the. I mean,
right. And I
you
dig
know,
Steely Dan. I don't. When I say
yeah,
cold and heartless, in this case, it's not a dig. It's just
yeah.
a fact.
It's just yeah. It's just a fact.
Um, so
Yeah.
uh, I want to say one other thing. The the electric guitar part in that song, "Me Without You," both the parts, like the arranged parts that happen in the chorus, and the main theme in the solo, they come from a song called fuck, what's it called? The name of it will come to me, but the band is Brand X. It's like a
Oh yeah,
70s
Is
prog
it Phil
band.
Collins
Phil Collins was the
fusion
drummer,
band?
yeah.
Yeah.
And so my mom, when I was 8, got remarried. And my stepdad is also an intense lover of music and an amazing human being. His name is Rob. And so he introduced me to Brand X. And so I felt like though I was making this album about or in honor of my dad, in honor of this whole experience, I also wanted to put this little Easter egg for my stepdad. So that's I just borrowed a chunk of their melody and used it in my arrangement. Excuse me.
I
Um,
I'll I'm sorry. Am I cutting you off?
Go for it.
So I was going to say I'm going to give you a little bit more time to breathe between the coughing because I
I'm gonna
wanted
grab
to.
some water while we talk. While you
Excellent,
talk.
great, good, good, good. So I wanted to step in also and say that I love you're not the first Bard person, and I don't want to say it's just Bard because I think all artists are have some version of this, but I do want to say how important it is, and also just give you the the compliment that I think what art is here for in general is to bring. I think it's like part of the thing that it's a beautiful thing to bring this emotionality, to bring some of our deepest stuff to the public in a way and give it a treatment that deserves the gravity of what's being featured. And
Hmm.
so I think that it's like a really beautiful but like ballsy gutsy thing to do, that you would even just bring this album like to fruition. And I think it's an awesome thing because I think artists are really special in that way. And so I think that it's really great. And I don't want to like we say that a lot on this show, so, but I feel like it's almost like you have to say it every time because it's like this is what it's exactly for, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And it's funny because like now that it's done, of course I did it. But
but
while it was happening, while I was making it, as I alluded to earlier, there was a lot of moments of like, do I need to be doing this? Should I be doing this? I mean, there was a lot of like claiming or yeah, I'm not even gonna say reclaiming, claiming my own experience of our relationship. Um, and allowing myself to feel and think and say things that weren't so welcome when he was alive, and put the phone down for 1 second, and look at the trees. Uh, but yeah, so it felt risky while I was making it, even though he's dead, and and then I realized that of course I can say whatever the fuck I want to say and feel whatever the fuck I want to feel, and I could then too, like I just didn't. It was for various reasons. I felt inhibited by him, by the relationship in certain ways. But it almost like doing it now lets me. I mean, it's a liberation. And if I'm free now, then I've freed that kid who was not so free in certain ways. It's important to say, like, even as I was feeling these things while I was making the record and feeling like, is it okay for me to be mad or be sad or be pissed off or all the stuff? um when the record was done and I listened back to it, it's like a total expression of love, you know um and but that I got to that point through by going through all that other stuff, by allowing myself to say and feel whatever it was that I needed to say and feel. um I was I was in an ayahuasca ceremony about 2 months after my daughter was born. My first daughter was born. It was very strong, and I was talking to all kinds of folks inside. And at one point, I was talking to my dad, And I was feeling stressed out about my marriage at that moment. And I thought I had made a big mistake and was just having a hard time. And I said, Dad, I made a mistake. And he said, what mistake did you made? What's the mistake did you make? And I expected myself to say something about whatever I was feeling, whatever I thought the issue was with my marriage. And I said, my first mistake was trusting you. And then we both burst into huge laughter. And that's an example of something that I needed to say. Even if he's dead and I'm in an ayahuasca ceremony, I needed to let myself go there and like give up my loyalty to him, which I really carried to a fault. Um, and then his response inside of me was a giant laugh. He wasn't hurt. He wasn't pissed. We just, it was true. He knew it was true too, him and me. So going through all of that, and that's just one example of the places I went in working through all this stuff. Excuse me. Sometimes I was much more angry. Sometimes I was much more like, what the fuck? The final song on the album. So the first song is Me Without You. And he had not warned me. He had told me that if his mind continued to deteriorate the way it was, he had told me as early as 2012, he's like, if it keeps going this way, I'm not going to stick around. I don't want to be a useless vegetable being kept alive for no reason. So if that's what happens, here's how I'm going to do it, and here's where I'm going to do it. He showed me. So in the song, I say, you told me what you were going to do, and now you've made it come true. And now everything that I do is me without you. So that's the chorus. And then we get to the end of the record, and the last song is called Life With. And so I said in that one, now I know there's nothing missing. Earlier I said there's something missing in the treasure you left. I was singing the song and you weren't there. Now I say, I know there's nothing missing in the treasure you left. My heart is wider than birth and death. Holding my daughters, the first song I was just saying daughter because there was only one then. Holding my daughters and singing our song, your breath in my chest, and we sing along. You taught me about I love you, and now I'm making it come true. And now everything that I do is life with love. So the whole record is this love poem, but it's the real thing. It's through the darkness. It's not Hallmark love. It's through all the shit and through the difficulty that I was then able to get to. And because I wrote that song follows the same harmonic structure as Me Without You, but it's just solo piano and voice. And I think it's down a half step or up a half step. Excuse me. Yeah, so that's what I got to. That's how I worked it through, and that's how I expressed it in the record.
It's beautiful.
It's
It's
amazing.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing your art and your heart, I guess. It's
a joy and a pleasure to talk about it with you both.
Yeah, I feel like part of something special now, to be honest. So
I want to just say some like complimentary things and just a couple more things because I think we should wrap up really soon.
Sure.
But I do want to say something like just call out a few things that I thought were really awesome before we wrap up. Number one, Pray the Healing Comes. I think that's the one I was thinking of. So there's a lot of, obviously there's, especially maybe this record or maybe it's all of your music because we'll get to that. We'll listen to the rest of your stuff and then form an opinion and we can come and you could talk about all the records like this if you want to.
Would love to.
We'd love
to, yeah.
But there's a deep, I think just because of the emotional gravity of this particular record, and obviously your background, which is really great to hear about because now we can put it all together. There's a deep spirituality to everything, that there's all this like spiritual chant like acknowledgement or references to life, mortality, the meaning of life, all this love. And Pray the Healing Comes, I was sort of laughing because the end part, if it's the right song I'm thinking of, it was almost like a Christian rock ending. And I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit. And to me, it was like, I can't put it any other way, but you like really committed to the bit, because there were some other tracks that were like poetic and chant like from an Eastern sort of thing, and I thought were really beautiful and sort of resonated more deeply with me. But the end of that tune was like, oh, this sounds like Christian rock. Talk 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 is actually amazing, and I think it might be my favorite track on the record.
That's
And
the one I released as a single.
yeah, it is the most, just to tell you, for a songwriter to songwriter, it's the most effortless flow of all the tracks on the record, in terms of just how the lyrics were singable and the way they came through, and the way the verse and chorus, and the verse, bridge, and chorus all flowed together. It felt so effortless to me from a songwriter's perspective, that I thought it was like almost like a pop song. It was just, you like nailed it so hard with that tune.
Thank you.
Plus, I am a little bit partial to like, salsa-esque rhythms. So
Yeah.
that was super fun and a great departure, because the rest of the album was almost like heady,
Yeah.
and then that was more visceral.
Yeah,
But
sure. Four on the floor.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
And
then,
okay.
oh, I'm sorry, Dan.
No, go ahead.
I feel like I'm talking. I don't want to take up the whole thing. I'll be quick. So, Sackcloth Boatman, which I think comes right after that,
Yeah.
was like the ultimate palate cleanser.
Mm.
And I didn't even know what to call that track. But for me, the last three tracks are really just like where the art of the album is so crystallized. I think the last three tracks are particularly beautiful, and the order of them. So Sackcloth Boatman, I didn't know what I want to ask you what the title means, but I
Sure.
also just want to call out that it is like a beautiful moment to just like in the course of the album, to just sit and reflect on where you've been taken on this whole ride. And the fact that it's just a revisit. I think it was just a revisit of the sample of your dad saying the meditation stuff.
Yeah.
Then finally, the Life With poem is very beautiful, but the way it transitions into that end part is so cathartic. I
The
can't,
We Danced part.
the We Danced part, where it's cathartic in a way, like I just love when like a major tonality comes in after all this other stuff. But you didn't give us just candy. There's there's a bit of a harmonic complexity. There's a slight you're borrowing from other keys, and
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, there's also a time change thing in there.
Yeah, it's all very odd times through that section. I don't remember what the pattern is, but it's not straight.
So I don't know. There's no other way to say it except that you fucking nailed it. Those last three tracks, you absolutely nailed it. And
Thank
I
you.
think
Very
those are
kindly.
so fucking good.
Yeah, you
And
stuck
Thank
the
you.
landing. You stuck the landing.
you stuck them. And I was just like, the last track, every time I hear it come on, I just have to be like, oh shit, wait a minute. This is just so, it's like when you have an album that has all that detail in it, and you have lots of different chord progressions, and there's a lot of arrangement stuff. It is like it asks for something from the listener.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, you just brought it home in a way that was just like, oh, that's made me feel it. You made me feel it. So,
Yes.
great job. I'm done. I just want to know
Thank you.
what a sackcloth
I-
boatman is.
Sure.
and then
I'll
we
answer
can
that
wrap
question
up.
in 1 second.
Yeah.
What did you ask, you? Yeah, sure. I'm just going to go inside. My daughter's not feeling well, and
Oh,
just going to be near her while we conclude.
yes.
So I will tell you what Sackcloth Boatman means as a title, but I also, if I may, I would like to talk about that piece musically, just a tiny bit. So The title comes from um, so another big influence, non-musical but literary influence, is Philip Pullman, who wrote The Golden Compass and all the other the other two books in that trilogy. I'm not for sure if you're familiar with those, but I got really into those books. I bought them for my dad as another Father's Day present when I was 18. He loved them. They were always really important. And with my stepfather, with my mom, with my brother, they're like family classics. I found where his house was outside of Oxford, went to his door one day, and we had tea together. I'm a super fan. Um, so in his book, The Amber Spyglass, which is the third of that trilogy, the two main characters go to the land of the dead, and the boatman who carries people across the river Styx to their final hell, as it is in this book, is described as wearing a sackcloth. And so that song is intended to be that's the music of that transition as you're being. So it starts, you hear the rowing, the
Hmm.
oars in water, and then that melody carries you through or carries him through. Um, the musical aspect that I want to talk about is I wrote that at Bard, actually. I wrote that in Joan Tower's composition class, the melody. And it was a solo flute piece. It was performed in Bard Hall by Pat Spencer. And and I always wanted to harmonize it and turn it into what is Sackcloth Boatman, but I never did it. And so finally for this record, I did. I like put the melody in and then harmonized it, and then used used Logic to spit out the score of what I had written in MIDI, and then sent it to Daniel, who's an unbelievable piano player. Daniel Marone lives in Brooklyn, also recently a father. Um, he looked at my chart. He looked at the score that Logic created from the harmonies that I made, and figured out what to do with it, and soloed over it and played so beautifully. So that's how that piece came together. The drums are samples from one of my previous albums that I then programmed in and did all kinds of fun stuff with filters and shit to make it sound extra washy, and LFOs on the ride cymbal and stuff. Um and Yeah, so that's how that went. And then I shifted it slightly. I changed a couple of things from the original melody. I actually tried to put my like Bard Hall stereo mic recording of Pat Spencer playing it in, but it just didn't quite work. So that, shout out to Bard, shout out to Joan Tower. That's where that one came from.
Okay.
Oh, I remember Pat, flute player,
Amazing woman.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Slaying flute player, and so
amazing.
sweet too.
Guys, I gotta run.
Okay.
We could do this. We could do this all day, but
Yeah.
this has
I
been
really
amazing,
appreciate I
amazing,
really
great
appreciate you
speaking.
both taking the time. It's really fun to talk about this stuff because obviously I've spent a lot of time thinking about it. So it's
Yeah,
fun to have people who are interested.
No shit. I think it's great. Well, we thank you for coming on and spending so much time with us. I feel like we had a really good conversation. We got into a lot of stuff, and I think it's really valuable to put it. I can't put it any other way. It's just such a valuable process, and it's amazing. Thank you for, I'll say it again, but you made an incredible album,
Thank
and
you.
it was so nice to actually dig into the the deeper level of artistry that took to create it than is immediately apparent. Um, just give us the usual like sign off stuff, like where people can find you. We'll we'll
Sure.
we'll do some promo, but tell people where to go
Wonderful.
to look you up and check out your stuff.
Great. Yeah. So the best place is Bandcamp. It's the best place for all of us. Anyone who's listening to this probably knows that already. Um, so elijahtucker.bandcamp.com. You can hear all my records there. Um, and then there's also Samambaya Music. Music.bandcamp. That's SAMAMBAYA music.bandcamp.com. That's my project with my wife. Um, and the last record that we did, Ian also like mixed, and I mean by the time he got done mixing, he was also a co-producer on that one. He did so much work on it. Um, and yeah, it would be fun to get on and talk about that sometime, perhaps with her as well.
Definitely.
And yeah, so those are the Bandcamp things to check out. And then there's, of course, all the other streaming things. We did a video for one of the Simon Bias songs that's on YouTube. You can find our YouTube channel, SAMAMBAYA music. I don't have any music videos of my stuff. And yeah, anyone who's listening to this, who checks out the music and wants to know more, ElijahTucker@gmail.com. You can send me an email.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Perfect.
Yeah. And thanks both of you so much for doing this.
Fuck yeah. It's awesome.
Thanks for sharing, Elijah, and great meeting you.
Yeah, you too. Look forward to the next time.
All right.
See you
Bye
guys.
bye.